Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's Thursday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It's 1930 Zulu, and that's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 16th, 2021. It's time for DX Engineering's Manufacturers Showcase. And this is where we bring on one of over 160 different manufacturers that DX Engineering sells. And it's pretty incredible. And if you saw the size of our two warehouses, you would know we have a lot of stuff. We're stocking in Talmadge, Ohio, and Sparks, Nevada, and shipping every night. You get your order before 10 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to ship it that night. And it's pretty incredible stuff. We have a very special guest today. It's John Kruk, N9UPC from Yaesu. Hello, John.
How you doing, Tim?
Good, good. What's going on at Yaesu? What's new? What's exciting, John?
Well, we got a lot of interesting stuff going on. So, first of all, I guess we'll go ahead and start out. We are planning our 2022 show season. So we are getting things geared up and going to get back on the show circuit there now that things have kind of simmered down and things are getting better. And then, of course, we recently we released some radios and actually some accessories to the radios. And I guess what I really like about what we have started to release as recent is not just kind of just a radio that is just radio. It has features. It really does have some additional options that you can do with it, as well as our accessories that are really starting to complement our great line of HF radios.
That is super. I know even during the pandemic, you guys have been really busy introducing new equipment. And I think there were 4 radios that have come out here recently. So why don't you step through each one of them?
Sure. So actually, it was a 1-year anniversary popped up on my Facebook feed today. Or actually, it was maybe 2 days ago now. The Ftd X10. So that actually came about a year ago. So right in kind of, you almost want to say the height of the pandemic, of everything that was kind of going on at the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021 here. So we did release the Ftd X10. For those who may not be aware what actually is the Ftd X10, we kind of call it the little brother, little sister of the Ftd X101. So a lot of people said, hey, I like the Ftd X101. But for some, they were brutally honest and said, you know what? It is just way too much of a radio for me. I love the 101 hands down, but I wish there was something a little bit more portable, a little bit more, I don't have a bunch of desk space on there to have a radio, but I still want the high quality of the SDR technology that, Yaesu uses and deploys within that radio. In addition to it, which a lot of people don't know, on that Ftd X10, it has the capabilities of using the ATAS 120A antenna system, and it's basically small enough compact, almost about the size, maybe just a little off on size from the FT991, but you can literally take it anywhere that you want to go with it. And I've actually taken it in kind of a mobile environment with my truck, where I've been plastic said, hey, I got my 991 that I use with the ATAS 120. Let's just pop out the 991, put in the Ftd X10, and let's see how that goes. Now, that, of course, was our big HF announcement. Like I said, it's only been out about a year, and it's really, really catching on. People love the display on there. People actually love the 3D time domain on there. So not only do you get to go ahead and see basically an X and a Y axis, but you can almost go ahead and say there's like a Z axis. So as that signal is traveling away from you or in time, you can actually tune in on the signal on there. Built-in SD card. I know a lot of people are using it for FT8. The record functionality is just amazing with the SD card plugged in there too on there. The new microphone, I'll just pull mine over there. The new microphone, I love the design of our new microphones, and this is the HF one that I have here right now, but it's a little bit different. I like it. It fits in my, as I call it, the meaty paws. But don't worry about it. If you like and want to use a desktop microphone, it is compatible with the MD1, the new MD90 that came out on there. So a lot of features for accessories and options on the Ftd X10. A few months later, we actually came out with the FTM-300. We actually came out with the FTM-300, actually, and take that back, before the Ftd X10.
Let's wait just a second on that. We have a
Sure.
few questions here
Sure.
in the chat, and I encourage our viewers to put things in the chat. One of the things was Kilo Bravo 5 Zulu Bravo. He says, I can't seem to find a mobile mounting bracket for the Ftd X10. Any help there, John?
We don't make exactly one yet. Some people have tried and have slightly modified the FT991 for it, but they do have the same standard size hole mounts on there, but the bracket is just a little, the radio is just a little bit wider. That's why I said it's like almost in the same realm of the 991A. So there's not a specific bracket for that, but I know many people have actually made their own bracket, and I think there are some third parties that have set up or done some printing or something like that on there for the bracket. So we don't make an official one yet, but I'm sure someone out there is, or who knows, maybe, hey guys, maybe you guys at DX Engineering might be making one.
There you go. All right, that was the only question there. We have a lot of Yaesu fans in here, so that's great. So continue on with the next radio, John.
Sure. So the next one that came out, can see over my shoulder on the bottom there, is the FTM-300. And the FTM-300 was kind of a unique radio in its design, in that people, the FTM-100, due to component availability and stuff, we did end production on there. And a lot of people said, I still wanted a compact design of a radio, but I did want a dual display. I need this. And we kind of listened, and we kind of sort of tried to go in the middle of the road, where we had some stuff that, can make it small dash mount on there, or we can make it so it's a remote mount. That's what you get with the FTM-300. The new locking bracket on there, a lot of people love it now. It's no longer a screw-in bracket. It's the same bracket that will show on the FTM-6000, which I have right here right now. In addition to a lot of the features that the 400 had, the 100 have, the FTM-300 does have the capability of doing Bluetooth technology in there, does have the SD card mounted in the head instead of the actual body of the radio. You can actually plug in the camera microphone into the actual head of it. So you can actually run dual microphones like I actually can do on there with mine. And just a lot of features, color display. One of the coolest things I will say about the FTM-300, which is an underrated feature, is it does do crossband, and a lot of people are like, ooh, great, whatever. However, with the crossband capability of there, it can receive analog or digital, and it can crossband to FM. It doesn't do digital to digital, and we don't allow digital to digital because of the Fusion protocol, but it does allow you to receive analog or digital and cross it over to FM. The reason I like that is because then when I'm sitting at home and I'm listening, I can use like my FT65, I can use my FT4X, and I can be listening crossband in the house. Oh, hey, I have a digital signal. Then I know to either go pick up the digital radio or go downstairs and use the microphone on that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for the FTM-300.
Yeah, and we have W0 Whiskey X-Ray Zulu says he just ordered his FTM-300 from DX, and it arrives in Iowa tomorrow, so that's great.
Yep.
Also a Steelers fan, so that's a good thing. And Roberto says that the spare bracket for the FTM-300 is available from Yaesu Parts.
That is correct. That is correct.
That's good.
And the reason being is I'll kind of pull the bracket off here real quick, and I'll kind of show it. Once again, it's the same bracket now that we're using for the 6000 and the 300 here. And what you'll notice on it is, and I'll show it here, it's a slide-in bracket. So there's a hole here for the side if you want to put like a screw in there or a mount to kind of hold it in place. But this locking lever mechanism, I'll kind of show it there if I can in the camera a little bit. What that does is you actually will slide the radio into this. And then you don't have to put screws in the side or anything like that. You have your mounting plate on the bottom there, but you slide the radio into it and it locks in. And then when you want to go ahead and release it, you just slide that up and then slide the radio out. There's even a locking screw on the front. So if you're worried about hitting it or bumping it and it's going to come unlocked, you slide it in, put that little screw in there, and that won't let that lever come up. But this is the new style that we are moving to. And a lot of people said it's about time, because if you mount this underneath the seat, or you mount it like some people, they'll do the remote mount head configuration on the radio. They'll mount it up underneath, like maybe in the trunk or something. It can be a pain to try to get the screws on the side of the radios there. So now with this locking mechanism or tablet on, or I should say on there, kind of showing on the 6000 here, you just basically are going to go ahead and put it in the little grooves, and then you slide it all the way until it locks into place like there. And there it is. Now it's locked fully in place.
Nice. That's beautiful, John.
So now what we did is after the 300 came around, we had a very difficult decision that we had to do. And a lot of people say, no, you didn't, but we really did. And we took notice that there was going to be component availability for the FT3D. Now, when we say component availability, everybody's like, oh, you guys screwed up on the chips. You screwed up on the chips. You screwed up on the chips. No, we didn't. Actually had nothing to do with the chips that a lot of people were experiencing. What it was is that, unfortunately, in this global market of what's going on, you tend to find people will try to take advantage of people when they can. All righty. And unfortunately, us, as long as a lot of other manufacturers got hit with this. And what we were finding is that the chip that we were using, or the component, I should say, not the chip, but the components, and we're talking like regular IC kind of circuitry that we were using, was starting to go out of production. But then we were told a new component was being released in place of it. And guess what that component was? 2 or 3 times more the cost of that component. So we're sitting as a manufacturer from our stance like, well, what do we do? Do we buy this new component, which makes the radio, the cost of the radio is going to go up? We may have to redesign the radio. If we have to redesign the radio, then there's FCC type acceptance we have to go through. So we have a lot that we as manufacturers have to go through for it. And people wanted some features added in the FT3, which were unable to because of the physical additions or hardware additions they had to do. So what we did is we said, you know what, let's not go ahead and try to do a rebirth or a new version of the FT3 or something. Let's just go ahead and let's do it right. Let's make some changes. And that's when we came out with the FT5. Now, a lot of people right away off the bat, they went along and said, hey, here's what it is. The FT5 is nothing more than a refurbished FT3. And actually, it's not. We added a lot of new features into the radio. A lot of stuff that people know, but we added the PMG function, which is a primary memory grouping. So you can add quickly, kind of sort of like frequencies in a how do you want to say, like a zone or a bank on the fly on there. We did a different screen. We made the touch screen have a little bit of a delay. So if you accidentally bump it and you're not doing it, biggest thing is you have the actual bell clip now that comes standard with the radio. We redesigned the housing of the radio on there. We added extra lights. So a lot of stuff came out of it. And we said, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. And that's when we released the FT5. Now, one other thing I didn't mention about the FTM300, and I will about the FT5, is that they are already out of the box ready for Wires X PDN operation. So you can hook those up with the actual SCU 39 or the SCU 40 kits, and you can get going on Wires X right away. And I know, Tim, for a fact, I've actually had a couple of customers recently that have said that they've ordered FT5s and FTM 300s from you, and they've ordered the Wires X PDN kit right away so they can get on Wires X within the first week they get the radio.
No, that's super. I mean, what a great feature, and congratulations for pivoting very fast to get that FT5 going. I got a couple of notes here in the chat, John. Mikkel from Sugar Julia 2 Whiskey over in Sweden. He says, I just love my Ftd X10 MP. We used it in the CQ Worldwide, and he was very impressed. Also, Ian here says, are there any plans to put averaging and a better spectrum display on the 101? 3D does not seem to provide any value. I tend to disagree with that. I love that 3D display. Are there any plans for a better remote software for the transceiver?
So I'll take the first one. We get a lot of questions about the averaging, and we've looked at the averaging on there, and we are not planning on adding averaging anytime soon. And I know this upsets a few people, but the reason is that we found if we were to employ an averaging feature into that scope, you will actually lose stations, and you will actually lose on a visual display those signals. They will be buried in regards to the averaging. That is why they've made a decision in saying that we're not going to add averaging into there. It will cover those weak signals that the FTDX 101 and even the Ftd X10 can actually bring out of the mud, as we kind of say on there. So no averaging is going to be added into there in any time soon. The other question was remote software for the transceiver. So that's an interesting question. We have the SCU LAN 10 unit for the actual 101 and the Ftd X10, and we're working on actually expanding that out to some of our other HF radios on there. However, with the, and this is where it kind of comes into play, when you're dealing with stuff remotely over the air, you run into an issue of lag and you run into an issue of buffering, especially if you're doing it via the internet. We have found that it works great on LAN networks, but when it goes to WAN networks, so wide area networks, like going through the internet, so hooking it up at home and taking your computer and sitting on the beach in Cozumel, Mexico, trying to operate back here for, say, for example, Wisconsin, we find out that the biggest factor we have an issue with is that WAN capability. So the hardware, let's say, works great, but when you start to introduce the internet, the lag and everything, that's when it comes difficulty. And the reason it is because people are like, well, other places do it too. Correct. But when we are working with our SCU 10 unit, we want to be able to bring all that functionality to you. So we want to be able to let you have the scope display. We want you to basically be simulating that you're sitting in front of your radio, even though it's your computer. Because if not, then why have remote software is the view that we take on there. So that's why we are working on it to try to be the highest quality. We have had people that have great luck and great success, but then we've had people that have personally said that this sucks. I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you doing it that way? And then we find out they're trying to use like a cell phone internet connection while traveling, and there's just a lot of lag and buffer and jitter and everything that hurts, you know, the ability to do that. So long story short, yes, we are working to improve it, but on the flip side of the coin is we are limited on what we can provide.
Yeah. So Lawrence, Kilo Bravo 5 Zulu Zulu Bravo says, can we have a firmware update on the Ftd X10 to make the pop-up menus stay on screen longer?
Yeah, and we have heard about that. We have had some people that have requested that feature on there. You know, one of the things about our firmware is we don't nickel and dime it, as we kind of call it and say, because we don't want to make one little firmware change and send it out, and then everybody updates their firmware, and then we make another change a week or two later, and then everybody has it there. We try to do our firmwares as cumulative. So I don't know what the next firmware is yet. I have not seen any information or data on that yet, but I know it has been suggested and it has been referred up to engineering. So the word has been spoken and sent up.
And Roberto reports great aviation reception on the FT5D, and the belt clip allows the use of batteries, so that's good. Anthony asks, what's the price of the Ftd X10? And if you go to the DX Engineering website right now, it's $1,600. And Daniel reports, my FT 1900 and 2900 still work perfectly after years of use. And so a lot of good things there. I think you've got one or two more radios to talk about, John.
Yep. So after the FT5 came out, we then sat back and we did a reevaluation of our line. And with the reevaluation of our line, what we do by that is we see where the industry is at. We see what's going on with our products and stuff. And we saw something that kind of alarmed us. And when I say alarmed is like, whoa, wait a minute. We didn't want anybody to fall through the cracks. And if you notice, we always try to maintain a very, very even line of products. So we have a variety of HF radios. We have a variety of VHF and UHF radios. We have rotators, or rotors. We have, our Wires X division, everything like that on there. But one of the things that we started to see that everything's kind of sliding away, and people are starting to feel, what's the best way to put it, left out. And that was actually in the FM user arena, is the way I put it. People were always saying, well, wait a minute. You have a great FM handheld or dual band handheld, the FT-65 and the FT4, but you don't really have any FM dual band radios. What's the deal with that? You have the FTM-3100 VHF, great. You have the FT-2980 VHF, great. Where's the UHF? Where's the dual band? And we said, whoa, we are. We did, the FT-8900 was the last actual quote unquote dual band FM only, as that was actually quad band FM only radio that was out there. 10 and 6 meters on FM, the popularity has kind of course, died off. Maybe that will pick up again. But as we were looking more and more, we said, no, we need to get back into it. Well, one of the radios that a lot of people loved, and we were disappointed we had to discontinue it or take it out of production would be the better term, was the FT-7900. And a couple things that people were talking about. One, and this is the FTM-6000 here now with the display there. I'll try to get in there. But a lot of people said they miss this easy functionality on there. So they were saying, what can we do? How can we get this back in line? Well, when we said, and we had the talks, we said, wait a minute. Let's not just build a radio to just send out mass to the market to try to hit one part. Let's take a moment, step back, and see what we can do to help those customers who want the demand, but more importantly, add features that customers wanted. So with the FTM-6000, we did that. We feel we did a good job on there. And the reason why is, first of all, the FTM-6000 is a dual band, FM only transceiver. There's no digital on there. If you don't want to do digital, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It's FM only. In addition to that, it comes with, and I'll kind of work backwards and you'll see why here in a moment. It comes with the new design of the Yaesu mobile microphone. So this is the SSM-85D. And as you notice, it's a significant change over the other microphones that we had out there. So like the ones that came with the FTM 400, 400, 100, 2980s, all those kind of things like that on there. And the reason being is we added a few more features in there. So now you've got the mute button on here. You have the P1 through 4 on the side or bottom there, really separated out. You have the A, B, C, and D, which also doubles on there. And more importantly, it actually is kind of more, if you notice, kind of more rounded, where the other one was a little bit more of a, how do I say, like an oval shape. But this is kind of the nice part on there. With the FTM-6000, because we know how vehicles are, it can come right away with the separation cable in the box, or you can actually mount it onto the radio. So let me power it off here, and I'll kind of just give you a quick showing how it does on there. So there is a long cable and a short cable. So the long cable is in the box with it on there right away there for you. But otherwise, you can put the short cable on there, and then what you could simply do is click and lock it in. And now look at it. It is a dash mount radio if you don't want to do remote head. Mounting options for the remote have always been a big discussion too. And look what, we actually added the screw terminal right on the back on there. So if you want to use our suction cup mount, if you have something that can use that screw terminal on there, it's a lot easier as compared to, like, let's say the old 78, 79, 88, or 89 series where you needed to lock it into that plastic bracket. On the side there, you actually have a USB port, which can be used to charge the SSM BT10 on there, which is our Bluetooth headset. You can add the board in there to also have it be used for Bluetooth operation. So that's not standard, but you could buy it as an option on there. In addition, comes with the same style bracket that the FTM-300 did. But here's where we took our time, and I want to point out something really, really kind of interesting on there. So first of all, you have external speaker on there, but look at what's right there, folks. That is a 10-pin mini DIN data connector on there. So what that's going to allow you to do now is what a lot of people said that they wanted, which heck, I even wanted, and I even in the company said I wanted. And here's why. This little cable, okay, 10-pin mini DIN connector, same one that's used on the FTM-300, the FTM-400, FTM-100, the DR2X. Now I can take this cable and I can take this little baby here, and guess what? Now I can actually make this into an all-star node for me, because this data cable connector has that direct data connection out there, which is going to give you your mic high, your mic low, your speaker, your core sense, your PTT, everything that you need in order to be able to hook it up for remote, not necessarily remote, I should say, but like a donor radio or a data radio purposes on there. So whether you packet, whether you do WinLink, whether you do all-star like I do, or even better yet, if you have wires X, you can actually plug and play now the cable from the HRI 200 into the FTM-6000 for an analog wires X device.
Oh, that is just super, John. Lots of features in the 6000 there, and thanks so much for sharing that. There's another question here. It says, I have Steve Harvey says, hi guys, I have the Ftd X1010MP. Is there going to be an optional power setting for each band coming on any update?
You know, I don't know on what they have once again planned for a firmware update or anything coming down the line. Like I said, I haven't heard anything on the 10 or the 101 just yet. Usually we kind of get somewhat of a heads up of what may be coming or stuff on there so we can actually prepare to train ourselves on there for that option. So I haven't heard anything yet. So really, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess stay tuned. And we've got lots of Yaesu users in the group here. Our friend Mike Mowry, KE3JP is on as well. And do you have any other radios you want to talk about today, John?
So not radios. We haven't, those are the 4 big ones that we've released over the last, call it maybe year and a half now through this whole time of the COVID pandemic and everything. But we did also bring out some accessories, which the one accessory I like is pretty amazing. And that is going to be the M90 microphone. So I got to actually pull up my sheet here because I'll tell you why. This thing is absolutely amazing. And first of all, I'm a big M1 microphone guy. I have an Ftd X5000. I have a 101. I have a 10. I have a 991. I like the microphones on there. And I really like the M1 because one thing I noticed is that when you change definitely between radios a lot, each radio has their own little kind of way you kind of got to tune in to the radio. And the M1 has that built-in audio mixer system in there. This is the easiest way to describe it. You can adjust your highs, your lows. You can adjust for condenser use versus dynamic usage. But one thing that a lot of people wanted was a microphone that can be used in a multiple variety of ways. Some wanted a desk microphone. Okay, I understand. Have the M1, that's definitely a desk microphone. But as you can kind of see here with my microphone that I'm using for the broadcast, I'm kind of started getting into this life of the boom microphone. Not only doing, this, but, and our shows and our podcasts and everything, but even talking on the HF radio. Man, it's really nice because now you have more room on your desk. Well, the issue a lot of people said is, hey, they like the microphones, but there's no microphone that can go back and forth between both ways. And we said, okay, we heard, we listened. M90D, the M-90D is that microphone that is going to fit that quote unquote bill, that purpose. And here's why. The M90 comes, first of all, as a standard desktop microphone. That's the M90D. And it uses a very similar base that you saw like in some of our other microphones, like the M70 and a few other ones on there. It basically, the microphone element is going to be on the stand, which is attached to the pedestal, which is the push to talk button. Cable comes from the back of the microphone into the pedestal, and then the cable goes out to your radio. But we also made the M90 Ms Kit. Now, what that entails is that the microphone is able to be mounted on a boom mast. Then there is a cable that's going to go ahead and run down to basically a hand-controlled push to talk. So almost like the old, God, I can't even think of think a lot of old movies. I'll probably date myself or whatever. But like the bad guy was ready to blow up something. He holds the device and there's the push to talk button on there. That's what this is like. It's a square button, square kind of, device that holds the PTT button. And then out of the cord of that PTT, it plugs into your radio. Now, here's how much even more versatile it is. The M90D. Like, for an example, the Ftd X5000, it has the 8-pin round connector. The 101 series, that actually has the round pin connector. When you get down to the 991A or the Ftd X10, that actually has the modular style jack. With the M90, the desktop microphone version, you have the ability to use that same cord, which will just reverse on itself. So if you're using 8-pin, you go ahead and put the 8-pin into the radio, and then you put the RJ40, or not, it's kind of like an RJ45 jack into the base of it. Great, you're good to go. You move it over to your Ftd X10, let's say, then you just reverse the cord and you're good to go. But with the kit now, The kit allows you to mount it on the microphone here. Then it's going to go to, once again, that PTT, and then the cord will plug into your radio. Now, that only comes standard with that modular style jack, but if you want to use it on an 8-pin style radio, you can actually buy a short little adapter that will do that. So now people are saying, man, hey, that's great. I don't need the audio compressor, the equalizer built into the M1. I just want a nice desktop microphone, and I'll let the radio do the audio profiling on there. Now, guess what? I just have this one microphone that I can mount either in a boom as I buy it as a kit, or I can buy it as a desktop mount.
Very, very nice. Well, that a lot of options and a lot of great things. We did have one question said, who should we contact with radio feature requests at Yaesu? This is Whiskey Alpha 9 Echo.
Yep. What you can do is you can actually send it up through the contact us page at yaesu.com on there. Send it underneath the general questions. Be advised, we do always get a lot of feedback, on a regular basis. So if you don't get a reply or an answer back from us, doesn't mean that we haven't heard it or haven't received it. Lots of times we'll get the same thing sent over and over and over again from a bunch of different people. When we send it up to engineering at one point, we send it up there and we say, hey, here's a feature request. And then, if we see it more, we'll let engineering know that more people have done it. Now, want to say, just because you make the suggestion doesn't necessarily mean that we can facilitate that feature request. Sometimes feature requests are inhibited, is the best way to say it, due to hardware limitations or due to software limitations. I've seen a lot of people that said, you could just do this with a software upgrade. Unfortunately, we can't. There are things that do limit us, but you can set it up from there, and then we forward it on to engineering or the right department if it's not necessarily a firmware upgrade.
All right. Well, that's super, John. Hey, I want to thank you for coming on today. We have tons of viewers in here that really enjoy the Yaesu radios. Some of the viewers are waiting to get them in the mail and for Christmas. And so, again, thanks for all you do to make sure that the Yaesu owners are taken good care of, and the new radios are fabulous. And thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
And John, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you in the new year.
Thank you, Tim. Merry Christmas, everybody there, and all the loyal Yaesu customers.
Well, we really appreciate the relationship between DX Engineering and Yaesu. And we wish you 73, and we'll see everybody tomorrow for the weekend special. Until then, 73 from DX Engineering.